The conference room fell silent as the holographic display showed the burning remains of New Terra. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the head of the table, her face carved from stone as she watched her home colony die in real time. 2 million souls had lived on that world just 6 hours ago. Now it was nothing but debris and screaming radio signals. The Crithian swarm hit 12 population centers simultaneously, she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. They used civilian transponders to get past our defenses. By the time we realized what was happening, it was too late. General Marcus Stone leaned forward, his weathered face grim. What's the Galactic Council's response? The same as always, Chen replied bitterly. Thoughts and prayers. Strongly worded condemnation, a promise to investigate. She turned to face the assembled military leaders. They won't do anything. They never do. The Council has decided that humanity isn't important enough to protect. It had been 50 years since humanity joined the Galactic Council. 50 years of playing by rules that seemed designed to keep humans in their place. The Council had existed for over 10,000 years, governed by ancient species who had long ago divided the galaxy among themselves. Humanity was the newest member, the youngest species, and everyone made sure they remembered it. The Council had strict laws about warfare technology. Ships could only be so large, weapons could only be so powerful, artificial intelligence could only be so smart. Every rule seemed reasonable on its own, but together they formed a cage that prevented younger species from ever catching up to the old powers. We've filed formal complaints about the Crithian swarm for 5 years, said Ambassador Rodriguez. The Council says they're not technically a government, so they can't intervene. But everyone knows the hierarchs use the swarm as attack dogs. They let pirates harass us while keeping their own hands clean. Chen pulled up another display. Earth's military capacity is limited by Council regulations. We have 42 warships defending 12 colony worlds across 8 systems. The swarm has at least 300 vessels, probably more. We can't protect our people with what we have. So what are you proposing? Stone asked. Chen's eyes gleamed. Project Prometheus. I've been working on the designs for 2 years. We build a ship that doesn't technically violate any Council regulations but combines human technology in ways they never imagined. She pulled up the schematics. The officers around the table leaned in, their expressions shifting from confusion to understanding to something like awe. It's massive, breathed Colonel Park. 4 kilometers long. There's no regulation on ship length, Chen said. Only on weapon yields and power output per cubic meter. So we make it bigger, much bigger. The Council will never allow it, Rodriguez protested. They won't know until it's finished. We'll build it in the asteroid belt. Register it as a mining vessel until completion. Every component will technically meet Council specifications. It's only when you put them all together that you see what we've really built. Stone studied the plans. These power cores, those are civilian fusion reactors. Mining equipment requires enormous power, Chen said with a slight smile. The Council doesn't regulate civilian technology nearly as strictly. Each reactor is Council compliant. We're just using 50 of them instead of 5. And these railguns? Asteroid mining equipment. We're simply mounting them on a military vessel. The projectiles are iron slugs, not technically weapons at all. Just very fast pieces of metal. Park laughed suddenly. You're using their own regulations against them. Everything is legal individually, but together we have something that can actually defend our colonies. Chen finished. The Council's rules were designed 10,000 years ago by species who wanted to make sure no one could challenge them. They assumed everyone would play fair. They didn't count on human creativity. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Stone spoke. You'll need authorization from Earth's government. They'll be terrified of Council retaliation. Which is why I need all of you to support this, Chen said. New Terra isn't the first colony we've lost. It won't be the last unless we do something. The Council keeps us weak on purpose. They tell us it's for peace, but it's really about control. We either accept being prey or we change the rules of the game. How long would construction take? Asked Park. 18 months if we dedicate resources. We have untapped asteroid belt infrastructure that's officially registered as mining operations. We can hide the construction pretty easily. Rodriguez shook his head. And when the Council finds out, they could expel us, cut us off from trade. We'd be isolated. We're already isolated, Chen snapped. We're the species everyone else looks down on. The ones whose colonies get raided while the Council does nothing. At least this way we can defend ourselves. She pulled up images of New Terra again. Cities reduced to craters, orbital stations torn apart, rescue ships picking through debris fields, searching for survivors who didn't exist. My sister lived on New Terra, Chen said quietly. Her husband. Their 3 children. They sent me a message last week about their daughter's graduation. She wanted to be a doctor. Her voice hardened. The swarm killed her before she ever got the chance. They killed 2 million people, and the council will do nothing because they don't care about humans. We're too young, too primitive, too unimportant. She turned back to the group. I'm building the Prometheus with or without official approval. I have private funding from colony corporations who are tired of losing their people. But it would be better if Earth's military backed this project. Better if we did this the right way. Stone and Park exchanged glances. Finally, Stone nodded. You'll have our support. But you'll need a crew. A ship that size will require thousands of people. I have a list of volunteers already. Veterans who lost people in swarm raids. They're ready to fight back. And a captain? Park asked. Chen pulled up a personnel file. Captain Marcus Webb. Former Special Forces, commanded the destroyer Vigilant for 3 years. He lost his entire unit in a swarm ambush at the Proxima settlement. He's been asking for a ship that can actually make a difference. Webb's a good man, Stone said. Bit of a maverick, but that might be what you need. The council will try to stop us once they realize what we've built, Rodriguez warned. Let them try, Chen said. By the time they figure it out, the Prometheus will be operational. And then we'll see if they still think humanity should stay in its place. The meeting broke up an hour later. Chen stood alone in the conference room, looking at the plans for her ship. It was a gamble. If it failed, humanity might be expelled from the Galactic Council, cut off from the rest of civilization. But if it succeeded, the galaxy would have to stop seeing humans as victims. They would have to acknowledge that humanity deserved respect. Chen thought of her sister's face, her niece's laughter, everything the swarm had taken. She thought of all the other families destroyed while the council did nothing. We're coming, she whispered to the stars, and when we arrive everything changes. In the asteroid belt, construction equipment began moving into position. Workers who thought they were building mining infrastructure started assembling pieces of something much larger. Most of them didn't know what they were really building, but soon everyone would know. The Prometheus was coming. Captain Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the Prometheus and tried not to feel overwhelmed. The command center stretched before him like a cathedral of technology. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing every system on the massive vessel. 3,000 crew members worked throughout the ship, and every single one of them was looking to him for leadership. Final system checks complete. Captain, reported Commander Lisa Park, his second in command. All weapon systems online. Power cores operating at 98% efficiency. The ship is ready for combat operations. Webb nodded slowly. 18 months of construction had led to this moment. The Prometheus floated in the darkness beyond Neptune's orbit, hidden from casual observation. She was magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. 4 kilometers of human engineering that shouldn't exist according to every rule the Galactic Council believed in. Have we received any communications from Earth? Webb asked. Admiral Chen sends her congratulations, Park replied. Also a reminder that we're still officially a mining vessel until we prove ourselves. Webb smiled grimly. The galaxy didn't know about the Prometheus yet. Earth's government had managed to keep the project secret through a combination of deception and careful bureaucracy. But that secret wouldn't last much longer. Sir, we're receiving a distress signal, called out Lieutenant Torres from communications. It's from Epsilon Prime. The colony is under attack. Webb's hands tightened on the command rail. The swarm? Yes, sir. They're reading over 200 vessels. The colony's defense force is trying to evacuate civilians, but they're outnumbered 10 to 1. 200 ships. It was the largest swarm attack ever recorded. Epsilon Prime had a population of 800,000 people. If the defenses fell, it would be a massacre worse than New Terra. Park looked at Webb. We haven't been authorized for combat operations. Earth's government is still negotiating with the Council. Those negotiations will take days, Webb said. Epsilon Prime doesn't have days. It has hours at best. He stood straighter. Set course for Epsilon Prime, maximum speed. Charge all weapon systems. Prepare for combat. Sir, if we engage without authorization, Then I'll face court-martial afterward, Webb interrupted. But I won't let another colony die while we wait for permission to defend ourselves. Helm, get us there as fast as possible. The Prometheus turned, its massive engines igniting. The ship could move faster than anything its size had any right to. Human engineers had squeezed every advantage from physics that council regulations allowed. The journey took 6 hours. Webb spent that time reviewing tactical data and preparing his crew. Most of them had never seen real combat. They had trained in simulators, but simulations couldn't capture the chaos of actual battle. Approaching Epsilon Prime system, announced the helmsman, detecting heavy combat near the third planet. The main display showed the battle. Epsilon Prime's 6 defense ships were desperately trying to hold back a swarm of Crythian vessels. The alien ships looked like massive insects, all sharp angles and aggressive designs. They moved in coordinated waves, overwhelming the human defenders through sheer numbers. They're targeting evacuation transports, Torres said, her voice tight. Civilian ships. Webb watched a transport explode on the screen. 3,000 people gone in an instant. His jaw clenched. Take us in. All crews to battle stations. I want the swarm to know we're here. The Prometheus dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in the middle of the swarm formation. 200 Crythian ships suddenly found themselves facing something they had never seen before. Sir, we're being hailed by the swarm commander, Torres reported. Put them on screen. The alien that appeared was insectoid, with multiple eyes and mandibles that clicked as it spoke. Human vessel, you are outnumbered. Leave now or be destroyed with the colony? Webb smiled coldly. I don't think so. This is Captain Marcus Webb of the United Earth Naval Command Ship Prometheus. You have attacked our colony and killed our people. You will withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The swarm commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. 1 ship against 200? Your species is as foolish as we heard. Attack pattern 7. Destroy them, the transmission cut off. Webb watched as the swarm ships began moving toward them. All weapons, he said calmly. Fire at will. The Prometheus came alive. Railguns that were technically asteroid mining equipment began firing iron slugs at a significant fraction of light speed. Each projectile carried enough kinetic energy to punch through a swarm ship's shields like they didn't exist. Point defense lasers, officially rated as civilian-grade navigation hazard management systems, began tracking incoming missiles and vaporizing them. The first wave of swarm ships died in seconds. 40 vessels simply ceased to exist, torn apart by weapons that hit harder than anything the Crythians had ever faced. They're regrouping, Park reported. Changing formation? Let them, Webb said. Helm, bring us around. Use the moon for a gravity assist. I want to hit them from an unexpected angle. The Prometheus swung around Epsilon Prime's moon, using its gravity to accelerate to even higher speeds. The maneuver brought them up behind the swarm's main formation. The railguns fired again, and another 30 ships disappeared in balls of superheated metal. Their flagship is trying to escape, Torres called out. Webb studied the tactical display. The swarm commander's ship was much larger than the others, heavily armored. It was racing toward the system's edge, trying to reach jump distance. Calculate firing solution. I want that flagship stopped. Sir, it's at extreme range. The probability of a hit is... Just do it, Lieutenant. The Prometheus's main gun charged. It was officially designated as a deep space mining laser, powerful enough to break apart asteroids from long distance. The weapon fired, and a beam of concentrated energy crossed the space between ships in less than a second. The swarm flagship's rear section exploded. The ship tumbled, atmosphere venting into space. It tried to stabilize, but a second shot from the Prometheus hit it amidships. The flagship broke in half. The remaining swarm vessels panicked. They had expected an easy raid on a defenseless colony. Instead, they had run into something that killed their ships faster than they could retreat. The Crythians scattered, abandoning their attack formation. All vessels are withdrawing, Park reported. Should we pursue? Webb shook his head. No, let them run. Let them tell everyone what happened here. He watched the swarm ships flee into the darkness. The battle had lasted 47 minutes. 200 swarm vessels had attacked Epsilon Prime. Only 78 escaped. Damage report, Webb ordered. Minor shield degradation, Park replied, almost disbelieving. Some heat buildup in the port railgun batteries. No structural damage, no casualties. Webb sat down in his command chair. They had done it. 1 ship against an entire fleet, and they had won decisively. Sir, we're being hailed by Epsilon Prime, Torres said. Also by the Defense Fleet. And Earth and, she paused, and the Galactic News Network. Sir, they broadcast the battle. The entire galaxy just watched us destroy the swarm. Webb felt a chill run down his spine. So much for keeping the Prometheus secret. What's the Defense Fleet saying? Torres smiled. Thank you, sir. Over and over. Just thank you. Webb looked at the main screen where Epsilon Prime hung in space, battered but intact. 800,000 people who would live to see tomorrow because the Prometheus had arrived in time. Send a message to Admiral Chen, Webb said. Mission accomplished. The secret is out. Now let's see what the galaxy thinks of humanity's newest ship. The recordings of the battle spread across the galactic network within hours. Every species, every government, every news organization watched as a single human vessel dismantled a fleet that should have destroyed it. The footage showed the Prometheus moving through the swarm formation like a predator among prey, its weapons striking with precision and overwhelming power. The Galactic Council called an emergency session, and humanity waited to see what would happen next. The Galactic Council chamber was a vast sphere that could hold representatives from 500 species. Today it seemed smaller somehow, the air thick with tension. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by holographic displays of alien faces. Some showed curiosity. Many showed fear. Most showed anger. This is unprecedented, declared High Arbiter Vexral, a member of the Hierarchs, one of the 3 founding species. The ancient alien looked like a floating jellyfish made of crystalline light. Its voice echoed through translation devices. Humanity has built a weapon of mass destruction in direct violation of Council principles. Chen kept her expression neutral. Captain Webb stood beside her, still in his uniform from the Prometheus. They had been summoned to the Council's capital world just 3 days after the Battle of Epsilon Prime. The entire galaxy had seen the footage. Now the old powers wanted answers. With respect, High Arbiter, we violated no laws, Chen said firmly. The Prometheus was built using Council-approved components. Every system meets the regulations your own governments wrote. You mock the spirit of our laws, hissed Ambassador Krell of the Zenithari Collective, a race of reptilian beings who had ruled their sector for 8,000 years. You use technicalities to build something that threatens the peace we have maintained for millennia. Peace? Webb spoke up, his voice hard. 2 million of our people died on New Terra. 800,000 almost died on Epsilon Prime. The Crithian swarm has raided our colonies for 5 years while this council did nothing. Where was the peace for them? Silence fell across the chamber. Then a new voice spoke. Ambassador Thelox of the Vacrian species stepped forward. The Vacrians were mammalian, resembling tall wolves that walked upright. They were a younger council species, only 3,000 years old. Captain Webb speaks truth, Thelox said. I have reviewed humanity's formal complaints about the swarm. 47 requests for council intervention. All denied or delayed. This council chose not to protect human colonies because humanity is not considered important enough. The swarm are not a recognized government, Vexral replied. We cannot act against independent criminal groups. Yet everyone knows the Hierarchs use the swarm as proxies, Thelox countered. They raid younger species while the Hierarchs maintain deniability. It is convenient for the old powers to have dogs they can unleash. Gasps echoed through the chamber. No one spoke so directly to the Hierarchs. You go too far, Ambassador, warned High Arbiter Vexral. No, said Chen. He speaks the truth. You all refuse to acknowledge. The Council's weapons regulations weren't designed to maintain peace. They were designed to maintain the status quo, to ensure that species like mine could never challenge species like yours. She pulled up holographic displays showing the history of Council regulations. 10,000 years ago, when the Hierarchs Zenithari and Vox Imperium founded the Council, they wrote laws limiting military technology. These laws were supposedly for peace. But look at the result. The 3 founding species have remained dominant for 100 centuries. No younger species has ever reached their level of power. Is that coincidence? You suggest conspiracy? Demanded Ambassador Krell. I suggest self-interest, Chen replied. The regulations keep younger species dependent on older ones for protection. Except that protection never comes when we actually need it. So we found another way. We built a ship that technically follows your rules while actually being able to defend our people. A new voice entered the debate. Prime Executor Than of the Vox Imperium appeared on the displays. The Vox were energy beings appearing as swirling patterns of light and color. They were considered the most advanced species in the galaxy. The Prometheus represents a dangerous precedent, Than stated. If humanity can circumvent our regulations, others will follow. The arms race that destroyed countless civilizations in the ancient past will begin again. Or maybe the arms race never ended, Webb said. Maybe it just became one-sided. You kept advancing while forcing the rest of us to stand still. We will not debate political philosophy, Vexral declared. The facts are clear. Humanity has built a vessel that concentrates too much military power in a single platform. The Council's founding principle is that no single ship should be capable of threatening an entire fleet. Your Prometheus violates that principle. That principle is not law, Chen pointed out. It's a guideline. One that your own species ignore when convenient. How many Hierarch dreadnoughts patrol the core systems? How large are Zenithari war carriers? You have exceptions for yourselves but deny them to others. The chamber erupted in arguments. Species that had been silent began speaking up. Younger races who had suffered under the regulations. Older races defending the system. The council was more divided than it had been in centuries. Finally, Vexral called for order. The council will vote on a resolution. We propose that the Prometheus-class vessels be declared illegal. Humanity must dismantle the ship and agree not to build others like it. In return, the council will increase defense patrols near human colonies. Chen laughed bitterly. The same patrols that never stopped the swarm before? You want us to give up the only thing that has actually protected our people in exchange for empty promises? The alternative is expulsion from the council, Krell said coldly. You will be cut off from galactic trade, isolated from civilization. Is your warship worth that price? Chen looked at Webb. He nodded slightly. They had discussed this possibility. If the council votes to ban the Prometheus, Chen said clearly, humanity will withdraw from the council. We will not dismantle the only ship that has proven capable of defending our colonies. We will not return to being victims while waiting for protection that never comes. The chamber fell silent. No species had ever voluntarily left the council. You would isolate yourselves? Than asked, surprised. Cut off your species from the galaxy? We would choose to defend ourselves, Webb said. The galaxy has made it clear that humanity isn't welcome as equals. Fine, we'll survive on our own if we must. But we won't give up our ability to protect our own people. Thelok stepped forward again. Before the council votes, I wish to speak. He turned to address the entire chamber. I have served this council for 50 years. I have watched as younger species are kept in their place by regulations that favor the ancient powers. The humans are correct. The Prometheus violates no written law. It only violates the unspoken agreement that younger species should remain weak. You betray your position, Ambassador, Vexral warned. No, Thelok said firmly. I honor it by speaking truth. This council was supposed to bring unity and justice to the galaxy. Instead, it has become a tool for the powerful to control the weak. The humans built one ship to protect themselves, and for that we threaten to destroy them economically and politically. What does that say about us? Several younger species began applauding. The older powers looked furious. The vote will proceed, Vexral declared, all in favor of declaring Prometheus-class vessels illegal and demanding their dismantlement. The votes came in. The 3 founding species voted yes. Most of their traditional allies followed. But dozens of younger species voted no. The final count was 312 in favor, 188 against. The resolution passes, Vexral announced. Humanity has 30 days to comply or face expulsion. Chen stood tall. Then humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We will no longer be bound by rules designed to keep us weak. Any species that wishes to trade with us may do so. Any species that wishes to remain friendly is welcome. But we will not surrender our ability to defend ourselves. She and Webb walked toward the exit. As they left, Thelox followed them. Where are you going? Krell demanded. Thelox removed his council credentials and placed them on the floor. I am requesting asylum with humanity. This council has lost its way. Perhaps a younger species can remind us what we were supposed to be. 20 other ambassadors from younger species followed Thelox out of the chamber. The galaxy was fracturing before everyone's eyes. Outside, Chen allowed herself a small smile. Well, Captain, We just started a galactic political crisis. Yes, ma'am, Webb agreed. What happens now? Chen looked up at the stars. Now we see if the Council is willing to let us go peacefully, or if they'll try to force us back into line. Either way, humanity won't be bowing down anymore. Behind them, the Council chamber descended into chaos as the old powers realized they had lost control of the narrative. The humans had called their bluff and the galaxy would never be the same. The fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system 6 weeks after humanity withdrew from the Council. 500 warships belonging to the 3 founding species took up positions beyond Neptune's orbit. Their message was clear: submit or be crushed. Captain Marcus Webb watched the tactical display from the bridge of the Prometheus. The enemy fleet was massive, representing the combined might of civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Hierarch crystalline vessels that bent light around themselves. Zenithari war carriers the size of small moons. Vox Imperium energy ships that existed partially in other dimensions. They're not hiding their intent, Commander Park said quietly. This is an invasion force, Webb nodded. After humanity refused to dismantle the Prometheus, the Council's 3 founding species had formed what they called a peacekeeping fleet. Their stated mission was to enforce Council law and return humanity to compliance. Their real mission was to remind the galaxy what happened to species that defied the old powers. Status of the fleet? Webb asked. The Defiant and Indomitable are taking up positions near Jupiter, Park replied. Earth's defensive fleet is scattered throughout the inner system. Total human forces, 42 standard warships and 3 Prometheus-class vessels, 3 against 500. The odds were absurd, but Webb had learned something at Epsilon Prime. Numbers didn't matter as much as the Council believed. Sir, we're receiving a transmission, Lieutenant Torres announced. It's from the Council Fleet Commander. Put it through. The holographic display showed High Arbiter Vexeril. The Hierarch's crystalline form pulsed with colors that the translation software interpreted as anger. Captain Webb, Vexeril began, you have one final opportunity to avoid unnecessary death. Surrender the Prometheus and its sister ships. Accept Council oversight of human military development. Do this, and Earth will be welcomed back into galactic civilization. Webb stood, and if we refuse, then we will demonstrate why younger species do not challenge the Council. Your ships will be destroyed. Your orbital infrastructure disabled. Earth will be placed under Council administration until you learn to follow civilized norms. So we submit to foreign control, or you attack our homeworld? Webb asked calmly. That's not peacekeeping. That's conquest. Call it what you wish, Vexeril said. You have 12 hours to decide. After that, we will achieve our objective by force. The transmission ended. Park turned to Webb. Can we really fight this? 500 ships, sir. Even with the Prometheus-class advantage, we'll find out, Webb said. He opened a channel to Admiral Chen on Earth. Admiral, the Council has given us an ultimatum. 12 hours to surrender. Chen's face appeared on the screen. Behind her, Webb could see Earth Command's war room, filled with analysts and military leaders all looking at the same impossible odds. They expect us to fold, Chen said. Show them that humanity can be bullied. If we surrender now, we'll spend the next 1,000 years under their control. And if we fight and lose? Webb asked. Then at least we fought, Chen replied. But I don't plan on losing. We have advantages they don't expect. The Prometheus-class ships performed beyond predictions at Epsilon Prime. And we have something else. She smiled. The Resolute just finished construction. You have 4 ships now, not 3. Webb felt hope stir. When did you finish the Resolute? 3 days ago. We kept it hidden in the asteroid belt. Captain Ana Rodriguez is bringing her into position near Mars as we speak. She's ready to fight. 4 ships against 500, Park muttered. The math still isn't good. Then we changed the math, Webb said. He studied the tactical display. The Council fleet had positioned itself in a standard blockade formation, controlling access routes to Earth. They expected humanity to either surrender or come at them head-on. They're thinking like the old powers always think. Overwhelming force in a direct engagement. And we're not going to give them that, Chen said, understanding. We use the solar system itself as a weapon. Webb nodded. This is our home. We know every asteroid, every orbital path, every gravity well. They're invading our territory. Let's remind them what that means. The next 12 hours passed in preparation. The 4 Prometheus-class ships took up positions throughout the solar system. Earth's conventional fleet scattered, ready to provide support. And in the asteroid belt, mining equipment that had built the Prometheus in the first place was repurposed into something else entirely. When the deadline passed, Vexral sent one more message. You have chosen poorly. The fleet will advance. Resistance is futile. The Council fleet began moving into the solar system. 500 ships entering in standard battle formation, confident in their numerical superiority. Webb waited until they crossed the orbit of Neptune. Then he gave the order. All ships engage. Earth defense. Activate Project Thunderbolt. Throughout the asteroid belt, hundreds of mass drivers that officially existed for mining purposes activated. They had been repositioned over the past weeks, aimed at calculated trajectories. Now they fired, hurling thousands of tons of iron and rock toward the invading fleet. The Council ships detected the incoming projectiles and activated point defense systems. But there were too many objects moving too fast. Asteroids moving at incredible speeds crashed into shields, overwhelming them through sheer kinetic force. Dozens of ships found themselves suddenly damaged or destroyed by what amounted to very fast rocks. Their formation is disrupted, Park reported. They're trying to scatter. Now, Webb ordered. All Prometheus ships attack Pattern Delta. The 4 human battleships appeared throughout the system, emerging from positions where they had been hiding behind planets and moons. The Prometheus came out of Jupiter's shadow, using the gas giant's gravity to accelerate to incredible speeds. The Defiant rose from Saturn's rings. The Indomitable swept in from the outer system. The Resolute charged in from Mars' orbit. Each ship targeted a different section of the Council fleet. The railguns that had destroyed the swarm now turned on warships that were supposedly invincible. Hierarch vessels found their light-bending shields worthless against projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Zenithari carriers discovered that their massive armor couldn't stop weapons that hit with the force of nuclear explosions. Focus fire on command ships, Webb ordered. Take out their coordination. The Prometheus's main gun charged and fired. A Zenithari flagship exploded, its reactor overloading. The Defiant destroyed a Vox Imperium command vessel. The Indomitable crippled a Hierarch dreadnought. The Council fleet tried to organize a counterattack, but they were scattered across the solar system, facing enemies that knew the terrain perfectly. Human ships used planets for gravity assists, appearing from unexpected angles. They hid behind moons and emerged to deliver devastating attacks. They're sending reinforcements toward Earth, Torres called out. Webb checked the tactical display. 100 ships were breaking off from the main battle, heading directly for humanity's homeworld. They planned to bypass the Prometheus-class ships and attack the planet itself. The Resolute will intercept them. Rodriguez's voice came over the comm. Get to Earth before we do, and we'll make you regret it. Webb watched as the newest of humanity's battleships positioned itself between Earth and the approaching enemy. 1 ship against 100. It should have been suicide. The Resolute opened fire. Its weapons had been improved based on lessons from the Prometheus. The railguns fired faster, hit harder. The point defense systems were more accurate. And Captain Rodriguez was apparently even more aggressive than Webb. The Resolute charged into the enemy formation instead of waiting for them. At close range, its weapons carved through the Council ships like a knife through paper. But there were too many. The enemy focused their fire, trying to overwhelm the Resolute's shields. Her shields are failing, Park said urgently. She can't take much more. Webb was too far away to help. The Prometheus was engaged with its own battle near Jupiter. He could only watch as the Resolute fought desperately to protect Earth. Then Rodriguez did something incredible. She aimed her ship at the largest concentration of enemy vessels and activated her engines at maximum power. She's ramming them, Webb breathed. The Resolute crashed into the center of the enemy formation at incredible speed. The impact was catastrophic. The battleship's reactor went critical, and the explosion consumed 30 Council ships instantly. Another 20 were crippled by debris and radiation. The sacrifice broke the attack on Earth. The surviving ships, suddenly facing a murderous debris field and no clear path to their target, retreated. Webb felt something cold settle in his chest. The Resolute and its entire crew had just died to protect their homeworld. Sir, Torres said softly, Captain Rodriguez's last transmission. She said, worth it. The battle raged for 3 days. The Council fleet had superior numbers, but humanity had the home advantage and weapons that exceeded expectations. The Prometheus-class ships struck from unexpected angles, using the solar system's geography to maximum advantage. Earth's conventional fleet harassed the enemy, drawing them into ambushes. When it finally ended, the Council fleet was shattered. 347 ships destroyed or crippled. The survivors retreated beyond Neptune's orbit, battered and shocked. Humanity had lost the Resolute and 12 conventional warships. 5 years after the Battle of Jupiter, Admiral Marcus Webb stood in the Memorial Garden on Earth. Around him, holographic displays showed the names of everyone who died defending humanity's freedom. 3,000 crew members from the Resolute, 800 from conventional warships, civilians killed when debris from the battle rained down on Luna settlements. Webb reached out to touch the display showing Captain Anna Rodriguez's name. She had been his friend since their days in the Academy. She had died ramming her ship into an enemy formation to protect Earth. The Council called it a desperate act. Humanity called it heroism. Still visiting the memorial? A voice asked behind him. Webb turned to see Admiral Sarah Chen approaching. She looked older now, with gray streaking her hair. The past 5 years had been difficult for everyone. "I come here when I need to remember why we fight," Webb said. Chen nodded, looking at the names. "They saved us all. If Rodriguez hadn't stopped that attack on Earth, everything would have been different." She gestured for Webb to walk with her through the garden. Around them, Earth's sky was clear and peaceful. Hard to believe that just 5 years ago it had been filled with warships and weapons fire. "How are the new ships coming?" Webb asked. "We have 50 Prometheus-class vessels now," Chen replied. "Construction is faster since we're not hiding it anymore. Plus we have help from the Free Systems Alliance. 23 species contributing resources and technology. The Free Systems Alliance. That was what they called themselves now. The species that had left the Galactic Council after humanity's victory. Younger races tired of being controlled by ancient powers. They had formed their own coalition, with Earth as one of the founding members. "The Council isn't happy about that," Webb observed. "The Council isn't happy about anything these days," Chen said with a slight smile. "They're still trying to figure out how they lost control of the galaxy." It was true. The Battle of Jupiter had shattered the Council's authority. For 10,000 years, the 3 founding species had maintained peace through superior military force. They had convinced everyone that their way was the only way. That younger species needed to be controlled for their own good. Then humanity had proven them wrong. One species with 4 ships had defeated a fleet of 500. It wasn't just a military victory. It was a philosophical one. The old powers weren't invincible. Their rules weren't absolute. Change was possible. "What's the political situation?" Webb asked. Chen pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy. It was divided now in a way it hadn't been for millennia. The Galactic Council still existed, but its membership had shrunk. 37 species had left to join the Free Systems Alliance. Another 20 remained neutral, playing both sides. "The Council tried to impose economic sanctions against us," Chen explained. "They failed because too many species wanted to trade with humanity. Our technology is advancing faster than theirs now. We're not limited by their regulations anymore." Webb studied the display. The Free Systems Alliance controlled a significant portion of the galaxy. Not as much as the Council, but enough to be a real power. "Are we heading toward another war?" he asked. "I don't think so," Chen said. "The Council learned their lesson at Jupiter. They can't beat us militarily. Not without taking losses they're not willing to accept. So they're trying a different approach, which is negotiation. High Arbiter Vexril has requested a meeting. The Council wants to discuss a new treaty." Webb raised his eyebrows. "The Hierarchs want to negotiate? With us?" "With equals," Chen corrected. "That's the word they used. They're finally willing to acknowledge that humanity deserves a seat at the table, not as junior members but as partners." They walked past a fountain where children played. Human children who would grow up in a galaxy where their species was respected, where they didn't have to fear raids that went unpunished, where they could defend themselves without asking permission. "What do you think we should do?" Webb asked. Chen was quiet for a moment. "Part of me wants to tell them to go to hell. They spent 50 years treating us like primitives. They let our people die because we weren't important enough to protect. They tried to destroy us when we defended ourselves." "But," Webb prompted. "But holding grudges doesn't build a better galaxy," Chen admitted. "The Council made mistakes. Huge ones, but so have we. The war at Jupiter killed thousands on both sides. If we can find a way to make peace, to create a system where no species is controlled by another. She trailed off. Webb understood. You want to accept their offer. I want to create something new, Chen said. Not the old council with its ancient powers controlling everything. But not perpetual conflict either. A real alliance where species are equal, where regulations exist to protect everyone, not to keep some species permanently weaker than others. The old powers won't agree to that easily. They don't have a choice, Chen replied. They lost at Jupiter. They lost their moral authority when species started leaving the council. Either they adapt or they become irrelevant. They reached the memorial's central monument. It showed the Resolute in holographic form, forever frozen at the moment before its sacrifice. Around it were the words, "They gave everything so we could be free." What would Rodriguez want us to do? Webb asked quietly. Chen smiled sadly. She'd want us to build something worth the sacrifice. She didn't die just so humanity could survive. She died so we could thrive, so we could make the galaxy better. A message alert sounded on Chen's communicator. She checked it and nodded. The council delegation has arrived. They're waiting at the diplomatic station. Are you coming? Webb took one last look at the memorial. At all the names. All the people who had believed humanity deserved better. Yes, he said. Let's go see if we can build a better future. The negotiation took 3 months. Representatives from the Free Systems Alliance met with the Council's founding species. There were arguments, accusations, walkouts, and breakthroughs. Slowly, painfully, they hammered out a new agreement, the Treaty of Jupiter, they called it, named for the battle that had changed everything. Under the new treaty, no species could be restricted from developing defensive technology. All decisions required consensus, not just approval from the founding species. Younger species had equal voice in galactic affairs. Military regulations would be determined by need, not by ancient powers trying to maintain control. It wasn't perfect. The hierarchs Zenithari and Vox Imperium insisted on keeping some privileges. Some species refused to sign, believing the treaty didn't go far enough. But it was better than what had existed before. The Galactic Council and Free Systems Alliance agreed to merge into a new organization. The United Galactic Assembly, a fresh start. Webb attended the signing ceremony aboard the Prometheus. Hundreds of species sent representatives. They gathered in the battleship's main hangar, which had been converted into a massive conference hall. When it was humanity's turn to sign, Chen approached the holographic document. She paused before adding Earth's signature. 5 years ago, humanity withdrew from the Galactic Council, she said, her voice carrying through the chamber. We did it because we refused to accept that our people's lives were worth less than others. We refused to accept that ancient powers had the right to keep us weak. We refused to accept that we couldn't defend ourselves. She looked around at the assembled species. We fought a war that no one thought we could win. We lost good people. So did you, but we proved something important. We proved that the galaxy could change. That old systems built on control and fear could be replaced with something better. Chen placed her hand on the document, and Earth's signature appeared in holographic light. This treaty isn't perfect, she continued. No treaty ever is. But it represents hope. Hope that species can be equals. Hope that might doesn't make right. Hope that the galaxy can be better than it was. One by one, the other representatives signed. The Treaty of Jupiter became official. A new era began. Webb watched from the side of the hangar. Ambassador Thelox approached him, the Vacrian's wolf-like features arranged in what his species considered a smile. You look thoughtful, Admiral, Thelox said. I'm thinking about the Prometheus, Webb replied. The ship that started all this. The galaxy tried to prohibit it because it was too powerful. They were afraid of what it represented. And what did it represent? Thelox asked. Webb looked up at the ceiling toward the stars beyond. Change. The possibility that younger species didn't have to accept the way things had always been, that we could make our own path. It's more than a ship now, Thelox observed. It's a symbol. There are children on 100 worlds who dream of serving on a Prometheus-class vessel, scientists studying human innovation, politicians arguing that if humanity could break free of ancient restrictions, their species can too. Is that good or bad? Webb asked. It's inevitable, Thelox replied. You opened a door that cannot be closed. The galaxy is changing because of what humanity did. Some will embrace it. Others will resist. But it's happening. Later, Webb stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, looking at the space where dozens of ships from different species hung in orbit around Earth. Ships that would have been enemies 5 years ago. Now they were allies, partners in building something new.